Oh, let's do it live on a Thursday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. Fresh off being the steward of the schedule release last night on Browns Live.
Yes.
What a
Wow.
time.
It was a good time. Me and the Hoff and Jadeveon Clowney and lots of the Browns faithful tuned in, we really appreciated that. And it was fun. And you look at this schedule, what a fun time. This is going to be great. And I'm all about the biggest schedule ever. We saw some teams around the league do, I thought, some pretty fun schedule release videos, which I'm sure we will talk about at some point. But, last night on the show, it was great. And hearing, Joe talk about from a player's perspective how excited they do actually get for the schedule and what they look for and things like that. But the back-to-back Baltimore games with a bye week in between, which the Ravens do not have, he said that is, for us, that's our top competition in this division. At least that's how we all feel right now. He said that's a massive advantage, and that's going to be a huge stretch for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I think the other thing that jumps out right away at it is you play Denver on a Thursday and then mini bye before hosting Pittsburgh,
which is your first division game, and we are Week 8 is our first division game with the Steelers, and we are the latest team in the NFL to have a division game. No team waits longer than we do to have a division game. So Week 8, you're right, and we talked about that last night. Not to mention teams that have to travel on the short week, especially like Denver coming in, that's a big disadvantage for the Denver Broncos as well. So that's another one of those
we're home Arizona, right.
Critical. We're home for 2 in front of that, right? If I'm not mistaken off the top of my head.
No, it's at Chargers, Arizona at home, and then Denver
home,
at home.
Pittsburgh.
And
right,
then,
that's the 3 in a row. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep, Pittsburgh's the third.
3 in a row. And mini bye week going into Pittsburgh, where you play Thursday against Denver, and then you have the mini bye week coming out of it. So, look, I like it a lot. I think there's a lot to like about this schedule. I think it's a lot of fun. I think the opener, obviously, we talked about that yesterday because that was obviously official at that point. That is a really fun opener. It's one of those ones that's going to feel like the Super Bowl, but of course it's not. It's really not. It's a big game at the top of the year, but it's not going to have the ramifications. You're going to be such a different team by the end of the year.
Sure.
Certainly we're a contender, they're a contender, so it'll be fun, but it's not going to be like the games being played in December. You're going to be a totally different team if you play them in the playoffs. So it's just kind of one that's fun out of the gates. I think Houston in week 2, I can't imagine Deshaun Watson's in that game, but I think that's a fun opener for the folks. And then you get Justin Fields here probably in week 3. So I look at this thing, I think there's a really, and I know we'll go through this game by game and stuff, but to me, I look at this and you think about the first 8 games, it's 7-1, 6-2. I can't imagine it being worse than that. It's very favorable.
I like that. I like the confidence. And listen, we're a team that
where are your losses, Z? Where are your losses?
Should win a dozen games this year, so you're going to have to get off to a great start. I love it. I don't disagree with you. We'll go through it. Obviously, we're going to do a little schedule game. I mean, why wouldn't we do a little schedule game?
Sure.
That's a fun thing to do. But I think that, you've got week 1 is a big test. I think weeks 4 and 5 have some – and anytime you're on the road, have some challenges. There are good teams in here, but I think we're an excellent football team. On paper, dare I say we're a great football team. And we know that we're going to be well coached.
I think you can say that.
We know that we're going to be well prepared. And so now it's going to come down to our ability to execute in this season. And I believe that we're going to do that at a very high level. I'm fired up. And, boy, we're 7-1 after 8. Come on. All of a sudden, it's, we have a chance to be one of the elite teams. Seth Walder at ESPN, he picked us to win the Super Bowl in their post-schedule release.
Appropriate.
And it is appropriate. As our good friend of the program, Mr. Jake Trotter, said, he's the smartest guy at ESPN, so then it must be so. I can tell you shirts are flowing in here. People are excited. We just got some awesome stuff. I got a World's Team shirt that came in. I also got some Wyatt Teller shirts where he's carrying a gator, and then we just got the Dogfather shirts with A.B. and Stefanski from the Immortal Godfather movie poster with their heads on it. So people are fired up. Their creative juices are flowing.
That's fantastic. What's the World's Team? Which World's Team shirt is it? Is it one we've seen before?
No,
or is it a
brand
new incarnation?
A brand new World's Team shirt.
Hold it up, Gibby.
That one's actually went to my home, Gibby. So that one's not over. The World's Team is not there. Yeah,
Okay.
Gibby with a
Went to
little
your
frown.
home.
Yes.
Interesting.
I don't know about that. I don't know how that happened per se, but World Team showed up at my doorstep.
Oh, wow. You found out where I live, huh?
Okay.
Might be time to put it on the market.
All right.
Might be time.
To move around. Sure.
Easy does it.
Sure.
Easy does it, my friend. Easy does it. Let's get into the OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine preferred copy provider, your Cleveland Browns. For all the X's and O's for your office, call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. It is a very fun schedule, something that we couldn't talk about much yesterday because it was not official.
Correct.
But, frankly, as a downer, is Green Bay at Christmas. It's a downer. It stinks. It's 4:30. It just flat out stinks. Of course, I'll watch it. It will dominate from a rating standpoint. I love the matchup. I love playing in Lambeau in December. I think that's fun. But this had a potential to be one of the great one-off road trips that you have.
Yep.
It's a bucket list type thing where you turn this into a fun weekend. And the Christmas part of it. The other thing about this is with it being 4:30, there's just no way you could fly day of. There's no chance. So, to me, this went from being one of the hardest tickets in the NFL to obtain to one that's going to be relatively easy to obtain, with it being at 4:30 on Christmas Day. So, and I feel for you. I know how much the holiday means to you. I know, the job's the job, but at the same time, that's the family time, and that's the king of all meats, and all of those things that we've grown and know and love. And I think many Browns fans feel that way. I understand why the NFL did it. I get it. You want to dominate the NBA. You put Browns against Packers. You're going to dominate the NBA. You're going to absolutely annihilate them. But selfishly, I was hoping that game would be at a different time of year.
So that's the first and the biggest takeaway that I've heard from everybody is, Green Bay was the one that I had circled. That was going to be my, my trip and my pilgrimage to Lambeau Field, and I was fired up about that. And now it becomes a significant challenge, right? Now I think there's some people that'll spin that into a family Christmas trip if they are from a very strong football family. But, yes, it's 4:30. There are 2 games on Christmas. It's the Browns and the Packers at 4:30, and then the Colts, Arizona in the primetime game that night at 8:15. Now, you can get there same day. It is possible. But it requires connecting through Chicago. It requires leaving at 6 a.m. in the morning.
In December.
Which
no present. Yeah,
is not a guarantee. There are no
Your glass is half full. I love you to death. You know it. You thrive on enthusiasm. You're an idea man. I get it. It's not great. It's bad. This could have been awesome. It could have been awesome. It would have been a sweet setup to be able to do this in October or December. I'm glad it's actually we're not hosting it from the standpoint of if we ever have to host on, well, I guess then you'd be able to go if we were hosting. It was 4:30. You'd be able to get both. But it's the one road trip. And I think from a ticket standpoint, this went from being probably the most expensive ticket in the NFL. I would have bet a lot that Browns at Green Bay was the most expensive aftermarket ticket in the NFL to not. I mean, that's what happened.
Currently, because I'm looking this up, and I believe this is from StubHub is where they say the tickets are as low as on the ESPN schedule. It is currently the most expensive game right now that weekend is Denver at Las Vegas.
Sure.
Then goes Buffalo at New England, followed by Chicago at Seattle, which is interesting to me, followed by Cleveland at Green Bay. So it is still it's top 5.
My view is this would have been the most expensive ticket all year.
Vegas, I'm going to say Vegas, I think, is going to be the hottest ticket in the NFL, period, every week that they're home. But outside of Vegas, I think it would have been the hottest one. Yeah, because everybody would say, what road trip do I want to go on if my team's playing in Vegas? I want to go to Vegas. So all of their home games are going to be insane. Yeah. Insane. Yeah. Come on. They got bottle service there. You could get an errant Derek Carthrow could knock down a bottle of Cristal. Everything's in play in Vegas.
It all happened.
Yeah.
I know you've been in a bottle service situation, as have I, and the price tag of a very average bottle of vodka is enough to just cripple you.
It's insanity.
You just can't. Makes you want to punch people or things. Maybe throw yourself. I mean, it's just so frustrating when you see that. So that's the only negative. We're not going to be Debbie Downers here. Lots of positives. So Gibby wants us to rank our top 3 games on the schedule, our favorites from 1 to 3. What are your top 3 games on this schedule, my friend?
I'm going to probably go number 3 will be Monday night in Pittsburgh. I mean, I don't know when the last time we could potentially have had a 3-game winning streak over the Steelers going into that one on Monday night. It's at a time of the season where it will be a game of consequence. It takes me back to the last time we played a night game in Pittsburgh, and boy, was that a fun one. So I'm excited for that game, obviously. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I will say that my rankings kind of factor in the idea that I think Pittsburgh will have fallen off a cliff at that point.
That would be great. Good. That adds more juice to my ranking.
Yeah, could be. So number 3 for me, I will go at Chargers. Week 4 is a fun one for me. I look forward to seeing that game. It's really close between that one and Arizona at home the next week.
That's my number 1 road trip is the LA game. I like that.
Chargers, Herbert. It's going to be a beautiful uniform game. And then right close is the Arizona home game that follows it. I think those are both really fun games. Get a little revenge on Kyler from the last time around. So I go Chargers number 3. At Chargers number 3 for me.
I like that. That just missed the cut for me. I'm pumped for week 1. Browns at Chiefs. Let's go. Arrowhead, spectacular place. Great venue. Another great uniform game, I think. I love the Chargers or the Chiefs unis. I like our unis.
Beauties.
It's a potential statement game, but it's also, it's a game where we will go in as the underdogs. There will be no shame in losing. We saw losing week 1 last year didn't derail the season, but if we do win, then it's all of a sudden pandemonium and chaos. Browns are on the cover of every magazine.
9-0.
If you win that game, let's be honest. You win that game, 17-0 in play.
That's right. Number 2 for me, at Baltimore. The Sunday nighter is number 2 for me. I love that it's pretty amazing what the schedule makers did for us. So they give us a bye week with Detroit going into the Baltimore game the week before, and then an actual bye week after. So you're going to play Baltimore twice in 4 weeks. You're going to have Detroit before them, and then you're going to have an actual bye week. But at Baltimore, I just have revenge on my mind for them, and to me it's us and them in the division. That Sunday nighter should be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that's going to be number 1 on my list. Absolutely. That's the game, I think, because if you win it, you get to just enjoy it and savor it for a week, break it all down, watch it, and then run it back at home with a chance to sweep them. And I think you sweep the Ravens this year. I think we win this division, period. I think that is end of story.
Yes,
I agree. Again, not a believer in the Steelers. I don't think Brooke Pryor was a believer in the Steelers based on our conversation with her yesterday at all. And then I still think the Bengals are frisky. I think Joe Burrow's really, really good. And you go back and look what they did. I think their team's better than it was a year ago. And you look at what they did when he was a rookie. They were darn competitive. And they beat a Tennessee Titans team that went to the playoffs. They're frisky. Yeah. They're frisky. I'll tell you what. I'm going to go bold right here. If I was talking honest right now, here's what I think the final AFC North standings are going to be. Browns, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers.
I asked Sam Monson that this morning, if where he would have it, and when I played the schedule out for the Bengals and the Steelers, I still felt like the Steelers, to me, I could get them to 7 wins, and being 7-10, which again, get to an even number as quickly as possible. NFL, obviously you're going to 18, get there next year, get to 8-10. 7-10 is crazy sounding. I could get Pittsburgh to 7. I think Pittsburgh actually will start fast and then fall off. And Cincinnati's schedule, I think it's the 4th toughest according to PFF.
Pittsburgh's 1, right?
Pittsburgh's is number 1. I think Pittsburgh, the end of the year, is going to fall off a cliff. You look at who they play at the end of the year; it's really, really difficult. Cincinnati, I think, will be a better team, but still might only win 6 games just because how difficult the schedule is. But I think they will be better. And so that's. But I don't. That's not a crazy statement to say that Cincinnati finishes ahead of Pittsburgh, because I agree with you. I think it is a fall off. Kansas City's the number 1 for me. I just think, like, from the standpoint of if you could have picked any team on this schedule to open with, to spend weeks talking about, to a barometer standpoint, to measure where you are, to spend 2 weeks. It's going to be so fun to spend 2 weeks talking about Kansas City and talking about that matchup and going back to Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. And I think Kansas City is even more fun than Baltimore because it doesn't come with the inherent pressure of a division game. So it's like, to me, the Kansas City game is so fun. You have a bunch to gain, absolutely, in my view, nothing to lose. And it's just it's the perfect opener. You couldn't have picked a better opener, in my view. And so to me, it's just a fun game. I can't wait. I mean, it's going to be more fun to break down 2 weeks of heading into Kansas City than if we were doing Baltimore out of the gates. We've done that. We did that last year. So they did it. They did it really perfectly. Gibby wants to know, what's the toughest stretch on the schedule as you look at it from our vantage point?
So with us, and I want to go through, I think it'll be fun since we've got plenty of time. I think we should go through the other AFC North schedules and do a little schedule game with them because I think that'll be a fun exercise. But the toughest stretch to me for us, boy, I kind of think I think there are a couple 3-game stretches that will be very important, very critical. The first one would be at Minnesota, at LA, home Arizona. Minnesota's not trash.
Yep. No, I agree.
Minnesota's solid. That's a tough road game. At the Chargers, tough road game, home Arizona, and we know that they can put points on the board. So that's one of the stretches.
The Chargers game is going to be a home game. We know that.
Yep, which is great.
Browns.
Good for us.
That's Browns' home game. Browns' home game in Los Angeles is what that is.
The other, and then to me, really, you could put the final 6 games into one stretch that will define the season. At Baltimore, Sunday Night Football, home Baltimore, home Vegas, at Green Bay, at Pittsburgh, home Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the toughest stretch is the toughest stretch for me is probably Minnesota, Chargers, Arizona. The most interesting, the most critical stretch is Baltimore, Vegas, and really Baltimore, Vegas. I just don't believe in Vegas, so it's really the 2 Baltimores that weigh that so heavily.
And on the backside, at Green Bay, at Pittsburgh. I mean, that's no joke. And now, again, we're saying Pittsburgh's not Pittsburgh, but I'll tell you what, Pittsburgh out of it, us surging, wanting to lock something up on Monday Night Football at Heinz Field, I don't care how bad they are. It's going to be back when the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry was a rivalry and Michigan could actually beat Ohio State. You never could count them out. Didn't matter what the season was for either of those teams for a long time.
Yeah.
Not anymore, sadly.
And I want to be clear, I don't see any scenario where Pittsburgh goes 3-14. That's not happening. They're not going to fall off. They're not going to go from I don't.
Ben gets hurt.
I think that,
or they start.
That's never happened.
They start slow. What happened 2 years ago?
They would have to start. They haven't had a. They haven't.
I thought you meant Ben getting
losing records in 30 years. No. I mean, 3-14 would just. There's no precedent for them.
Sure.
None.
Well,
first time for anything, sure, but that would be. I mean, hell, 7-10 would be shocking for them. But they haven't had a losing record in 15 years.
That's probably where I think they land. That's why I think it'll be fun to go through that schedule and see what we think of their schedule, the Bengals and the Ravens and us, and do a little schedule game.
Yeah.
Plus, we got a long time before the season starts. The draft has now happened. Free agency is over.
Now we wait.
We've got a few months to talk about whatever we like, to bandy about these types of ideas.
And speaking of that, Ask CBD is happening today.
Oh, boy.
The schedule is out. The draft is over. What questions you have, you can text them. You can tweet them at Browns_daily using the hashtag AskCBD. We'll get to as many as we can at 2 o'clock hour. So put those in, AskCBD. That is happening. This will be fun. We'll do this coming up next. If you had to take a road trip this season to see a Browns game, which one are you doing? Actually, we'll do this. We will tell you how to do the road trip. So we'll identify the road trip and then tell you how to do it. And how to do it most effectively. We will do that coming up next. We'll take a look at the NFL schedule at large. A lot of intriguing games, including Brady's return to Tampa Bay, or his return to New England, which actually had his dad calling into Boston radio today. So that happened this morning.
Wow.
So Tom Brady Sr. called into Boston radio.
Yeah.
Crazy. Get you some Ask CBD. Have some fun. The whole gang's back together, off and running. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. Beau Bishop here for my friends at Weather Seal Home Services. Are you having trouble with your roof? Call Weather Seal Home Services right now and get a beautiful new roof in just 1 week for $1 down. Free gutters during the Weather Seal Spring Roofing Sale. At Weather Seal, you also get up to 7 years, 0 interest with approved credit, reducing your monthly payment. That's a win for you, certainly. Trust in Weather Seal to do the job right. Best price, lowest monthly payments. It's as simple as that. Don't call anyone else. You call them right now at 877-351-SEAL or go to weathersealhomeservices.com. All right, Z. Gibby wants us to plan a road trip for this season. Which one are you picking, and how would you do it? The clear answer is
L.A.
Los Angeles.
Week 5.
Yeah, that's it. Sunday,
October the 10th. Head on out to L.A. and take it in. I mean, how do you do it?
Isn't that amazing? Doesn't it stink that that's not like November?
It should have been November or December. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but
right.
That's the trip.
Swap it out.
That's
like
the
if
trip.
you swap out the Green Bay LA dates and you play LA third week in December and you play Green Bay 5th week of the season, both of those now become more attractive road trips.
Oh yeah.
By a wide margin. Yeah.
Totally. There could have been, I think take the division out of it, right? You're only interested in non-division games. There were 3, although I heard the Minnesota Stadium, this will be my first foray into that new stadium, is amazing.
Awesome.
I heard it's incredible.
Stunning.
There were 3 road trips that for a football fan were the ones to circle. Kansas City, Lambeau, L.A. L.A. because of the location, Kansas City because of their team and the history, Arrowhead, cool environment, Green Bay, Lambeau, obviously, doesn't even need to be commented on. Those are the ones that really would have jumped out. New England's not the same anymore. New England's not the same. And the thing that stinks, Gibbe, if you recall, the one time that we went to New England together, you were in the booth, so it didn't bother you. It rained the entire game. It was miserable on that sideline. Miserable.
Awful.
Well,
every time we've been there, Buster Screen Door, as it's called. You know, we blew a double-digit lead with 2 minutes to go.
That was a ridiculous call.
It was bad. We got jobbed pretty good. Yeah.
And guys, isn't New England? I haven't been to Foxborough, but isn't it kind of a brutal get to?
So it's actually built. The stadium is part of a complex that it's like a giant Crocker Park. So there's stores, there's retail, there's hotels, there's.
But you're not going to Boston.
No. We actually, when we traveled there, at least in the past, we normally stay in Providence, Rhode Island.
I've heard that.
I've
heard
heard
that people do
that's
that.
Where
they
we
go
were.
Providence.
So, yeah, we normally stay down there, which is nice because the food scene in Providence, I would put it right up with Cleveland. The Italian Hill, the seafood, really, really good stuff when you're in Providence.
Yeah, it stinks because Boston is an awesome town to visit. Just absolutely awesome. And you want to talk about food, they got that in spades. It's just every time I hear it, it's always you guys were just there 2 years ago, weren't you? Wasn't it just a couple years ago?
Yeah.
We were there?
It was 19. Yeah. It literally was monsooning from the time we woke up to kick off at 3:30. Right. We were coming off the bye week, and it was pretty awful how bad the weather was.
Yeah.
Brutal.
I mean, if the Green Bay game, Gibby, I said this yesterday to Zegura, if the Green Bay game is in September, that's a Whistling Straits, Aaron Hills double. That's what that is. You go do that, you go to the game, it's an ultimate guys trip. I mean, that's as good as it gets.
Better yet.
Go play one of those.
You fly into Milwaukee on Thursday, you go play the golf on Friday, Saturday you go catch the Badgers in Madison. Great atmosphere.
Yeah.
They're the exact opposite of Ohio State. Like Ohio State's all about football first, tailgate second. Wisconsin, it's all about the drinking first, and then we'll figure out the football. We'll get in by halftime.
We'll get there.
It's a hell of a party.
Yeah.
And then you go into Sunday.
Yeah. That could have been a dream one. I could have argued. L.A. is the no-brainer. It's early in the season, so it's not quite, but you still have a ball. Depending on where you want to stay there, you can either go Orange County, you go down that way. You can stay in L.A. and go out to the beach,
Malibu,
Beverly Hills, Hollywood. I mean, it's
do
just
Santa
what are you interested in?
What do you want?
See, I'm
the only
not,
thing
the whole LA thing to me.
Oh, I love LA.
There's
a song about
I'm
it.
not an LA fan.
Fantastic.
My buddy was just texting me. He goes, "What are they talking about LA?"
We love it. I love LA. I love it.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean,
Well,
it's
you
nice
guys-
going to the West Coast, but I mean,
Dude, LA is great. They're talking
LA's
crazy
fantastic.
right now.
well,
LA
I mean,
is great.
is it going to be open when we get there?
Yeah, you'll be fine.
I mean,
What's
if
the,
for 2 days we're confined to the hotel, it's going to kind of suck.
Don't even.
Well, I'm guessing you won't be. You're not going to be at a Super 8. I mean, my guess is you're going to be at some sort of Pelican Hill situation. Would be my guess.
I don't know.
we stayed at a nice. It was very nice last time we were there to play the Chargers in the soccer stadium.
The soccer stadium was awesome.
JW.
That was cool.
I don't remember where we stayed. We stayed right down by LA Live.
Yeah, we were at LA Live.
Yeah, that's a JW. The JW
Probably.
Marriott down there,
Yeah.
where a lot of the NBA teams stay when they go into Staples. Is the JW. Yeah.
And what did I do? Not go to any of those. I found the seediest bar within a 2-mile radius and drank there, and it was awesome.
Yeah, you did, Gibby.
Spectacular place.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I can tell you, if we are
I'll tell you
confined
what-
to a hotel in Green Bay, I'm just going to order a case of Spotted Cow. If you're going to Green Bay,
I don't know what that is.
the
Is
Spotted
that a
Cow
beverage?
from
it's
the
a beer?
Glarus Brewing Company is the greatest beer
boy.
Are you
in
gonna get
the
some
world.
cheese curds?
Why can't we just get it here then? If it's the greatest.
They do not make it available anywhere outside the state of Wisconsin.
Oh.
Well, we know Sam Pines and the boys. They go there. They could bring us back a case of this.
I've had people bring me back the Spotted Cow. The Spotted
What
Cow
makes
is
it so
amazing.
great?
What's that?
What kind of beer is it? What makes it so great?
I mean, it just has a nice flavor. It's a little bit heavier than
Pilsner?
it's not a Bud Light. It's not a Miller Light. I might equate
Okay.
it more toward a little Conway's Great Lakes.
Like a red.
But it's not that far, but it's good. It's
Okay.
smooth. It's really good beer. It's
All
one
right.
of Peter King's favorites. Top 5 for Peter King on his
All right. Well, he knows. He drinks
on his
a lot
beer
of it.
tour,
He likes
and
that
it lives up to the name.
stuff. All right. Minnesota's going to be a lot of fun for you too. If you want to take the folks and the family and everything. I mean, you're talking Mall of America. That's great. Great downtown. Very navigable. The stadium is just stupendous. It's just absolutely absurd how great the stadium is in Minnesota. So that will be. You're going to get 2 of them right away when you go at Minnesota at LA. You want to see what NFL stadiums built now look like? That's what they look like.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that. Those are 2 that would be. I have very few left in the association in the league that I've never been to. That's going to check 2 of them off. I think the only one that might be left would be Vegas.
That's the only one you haven't been to, huh?
Mm-hmm.
By the time you do Minnesota and LA?
I think so. Well,
Yeah.
and we'll hit. I haven't been to the new Atlanta, but we'll hit that in the preseason.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, there you go.
I
Yeah.
totally forgot
I mean,
about
Kansas
it.
City
We've
would be
not
a fun
talked
one. I
about
just
the
think
fact
the
that
app.
There's a big dress rehearsal game.
Yeah.
That's going to be national TV, by the way, week 3
Yes.
of the preseason.
What is it? Give me the preseason. I didn't even look at it.
Oh. I believe week 1 we go to Jacksonville to take on Trevor Lawrence in his debut.
Oh, Herbs.
Yeah, we go at Jacksonville, home for the Giants, and then at the Falcons.
And the Falcons is, I believe, a Sunday night foosball.
Week 3. Yep.
So with the 3-game preseason, is the second or third preseason game the dress rehearsal? Probably
It
the
has
second,
to be
right?
the third because the
Really?
4th one was like that following Thursday. So, I mean, you've got 2 weeks between games. I
Yeah.
would think that the 3rd game is your dress rehearsal game.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to play the preseason now because there is so much time between the final preseason and the first game now that you do have those 2 weeks. I wonder if you'll see more actual action in the preseason. I wonder. I'm curious how it's going to go. I really don't know. That's something I'm interested to see how that affects Kevin Stefanski. In the past, look, they would say we've always just had 3, preseason games, but that 4th one was very important to some people trying to make the roster, and we know people who have made the roster based on their 4th game performance. I'm curious. I'm curious if the second's the dress rehearsal. Does it back it up one? Is the 3rd the dress rehearsal, and you really, go for it and say, okay, it's basically like we have this and then a bye week to really get ready. I wonder how the 3 games affects it. That's something we haven't gotten to ask him about. So I think that'll be That'll be interesting.
And there's not really a chance for some groupthink on that either, because no one's going to be getting together and saying, how are we going to handle these?
No.
But, it's always been that way. I mean, the first preseason game used to be one where you saw everybody play, and then it evolved into something where nobody played. The fourth one used to be able to get a half of the guys. Now you've got nobody even dresses for the fourth one anymore.
Right.
So the third was the dress rehearsal, but really that's played at halftime now. So it's hard to say how they'll treat it. If I would assume that the first one, that you'd get some ones in the first one, that you'd get them out there. I would think that you'd get some ones, and that you'd amp it up for the second, and the third maybe you ease off. That's my guess. I don't know. Well, I'd be very interested to see how that one goes.
And something to watch that broke late last week from Pelissero and the league, you can request permission for joint practices. So does that become a week? Is there a week somewhere? Do we go train with Atlanta for a week? Do we go train with Jacksonville for a week? Jacksonville's awfully early.
I think if we do a joint practice, it will be with the Giants, would be my guess.
So it would be here.
Yeah, the middle one. Because I don't think it'll be that before your first preseason game, and I certainly don't think it would be before your last preseason game. My guess is that's where you're going to see a lot of the joint practices week 2, based on nothing. That's just my thinking.
You're right. It's tough to pick where you would do those. It would have to be almost week 2.
Are the Giants here for the second preseason game?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard for us to do the joint practice here, though. And you still wonder, and I saw Matt Nagy was in the COVID protocol. Like, are we still going to be dealing with that at that point? Is there still going to be guys in protocol with COVID at that point? So I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be answered, I think, on that front. So we'll see.
And I think a lot of that's going to come down to – I imagine a lot of it's going to come down to the vaccine percentages of the teams involved, because that's what the NFL's linking a lot of the protocols and the stringency of them to. I think it's an 80 or 85% threshold of people in the organization, including the players, vaccinated. And we've heard, the GM of the Bills said if it comes down to it in camp, for the last roster spot between two guys that we think are pretty equal, one's vaccinated, one isn't, we're going to take the vaccinated one so that we can have in-person, try to get above that threshold so we can have in-person meetings and all of those things. And there are a lot of incentives for it right now amongst the players. If you're a close contact and vaccinated, you do not have to you don't miss time. So you think about what happened with us in the Jets last year, that doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah. A lot of incentive, and now you're up for $1 million, Z.
Let's go.
Governor DeWine yesterday.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You got a date Wednesday. Come on.
New York is giving away Shake Shack fries. We're giving away $1 million.
Let's go.
What do you need 5 different times? What a time to be alive. We will go over some of the highlights of the NFL schedule that jumped out to us. There's a lot of interesting ones here. We will get into that coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Obsessing over football can be a problem. If you're obsessing over gambling, it can be dangerous. Do something to take your mind off it. Find some tips at keepitfunohio.com. Great ways to keep gambling fun. Senior Swag just walked by.
Yeah.
What's he
fired up?
Today?
Fired up. Just saying he's in a quarter zip. The top of champions. Just a quarter zip today. It looks like he was doing some cash biz. You know what I mean?
Is it a denim or is it a pant?
It looked like a dark pant to me, with a dark quarter zip.
A dark pant.
Yep.
Okay. A boot or was it a shoe? What was it? A sneaker? Was it a
that I wasn't able to see because he was hitting a home run and then I was watching it. I was watching it go, so I didn't get the full. I was an active participant more so than an observer of the swag.
I see.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. You know how important these things are to me.
I know. That's why we got to get you back in here, dude.
What's going on? Yeah. Well, maybe July. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how that goes.
It'd be a real treat.
In time for camp. Yeah, be very, very good.
Sure would.
All right, so the league did a pretty good job here. We laid this out yesterday with Week 1 in terms of if you are interested in it, and you will be as consumers of the football, to be able to go Buccaneers, Cowboys, both of our games, our divisional rival games. I mean, the Steelers and Bills, the Bengals and Vikings both play at 1 o'clock. We play the 4 o'clock game. The Sunday nighter is Stafford, who's my surrogate. It's my son, Stafford.
He
or
is.
At very least my nephew.
I feel like
versus Justin Fields, who's like my son.
You
so
cast Jameis aside
really,
so quickly. Jameis, I feel like at one point was like he held that special place, and then you're just like, this is his chance to thrive. This is where you could say I was there all along. This is the year.
Yeah. I know it. There was that game. We split. Remember that game that we played at the same time as them, and you were obviously obligated, and I was watching our game, and that game was on my red zone. And he came in when Breeze went down, and it was so bad.
Didn't you see his touchdown in the playoffs?
I was floored.
Guy gets to play one pass.
I was floored. I was just floored how bad it was. Like he
better than
just
Taysom.
Looked lost.
Better than Taysom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Taysom's he's that's two different things. But I mean,
sure.
Yeah. So anyway, and then you have Monday night. I mean, they set up Week 1 really good. What Monday night is Ravens Raiders. That's awesome. So that's an incredible Week 1 stretch. The Bradford Bowl is happening. Jets and Panthers Week 1 as well. When you and I ranked these yesterday, where do we have this? Like middle table?
Yeah.
Did you see Teddy Two Gloves comments about Joe Brady?
So there's been a lot that's been made about this now, and I have heard from others that what he said was corroborated by others that they had talked to in the league, and that it was a stunning thing because the best teams in the NFL spend an inordinate amount of time on situational football. I know that the Browns are certainly amongst them under Kevin Stefanski. And he wasn't sure if that was, one of the transitions from college when you're at an LSU and you are significantly better than everybody you play, and 2 minutes in red zones aren't really that much of a factor, whereas in the NFL, 2 minutes in red zones are the difference between winning and losing. I'll never forget Kevin Stefanski called a third down in the red zone a 4-point play, and we need to be the best 4-point play team in the NFL. Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me. Teddy Bridgewater has at no point in his career ever besmirched anybody. Ever. So for him to say that, it was obviously something that I'm guessing he had said to them directly at some point while he was there. And, just wanted, I guess, just a little parting shot on the way out there for a thing that didn't go as well as it could have. And now they lost. If you go back and look at their schedule, I don't remember, but I was reading an article about it. The percentage of games that they lost by 5 points or fewer was inordinately high. It was basically the majority of their losses were 5 points less. Yeah. Listen, that comes down to situational football. And I would imagine coming from an organization – Minnesota's a very, very well-run organization, and then he was down in New Orleans, which is a very well-run organization, and those things are emphasized. And if they're not, you're going to struggle. And guess what? You're going to come up short in some of these critical situations because it's not second nature, and that's where games are won and lost in the NFL. That's how close the margin is.
So Bridgewater said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm acknowledging I'm paraphrasing, that basically they didn't do any third down or 2-minute on Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, they did not spend enough time on situational football is the big takeaway. Red zone,
the one
third
thing he
down,
said was like
drill.
None on Friday.
Yeah,
like,
they did in Saturday
crazy.
walkthroughs.
Like, didn't do it.
Right.
That's it. So that's a stunning thing, certainly. All right, so you get the Sam Bradford game, Week 3, Green Bay at San Francisco on Sunday Night Football. Obviously, the intrigue around Rodgers there. Will Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo be quarterbacking San Francisco?
Week 1? What point?
Week 3. Green Bay at San Francisco, Week 3.
Garoppolo.
Is it Lance or Garoppolo?
Lance is not quarterbacking this team unless there is an injury to Garoppolo, which at this point we have seen is fairly recent or likely, or they're eliminated from the playoffs. I don't believe that their desire is to play Lance right away. Now, Lance could come in and win the job, clearly. You know, I could go back to Seattle when their desire was to play Matt Flynn. They gave him $1 billion off of one game against Detroit late in the season. Russell Wilson was the third-round pick, not third overall, but came in, won the job, was clearly the better guy. Again, remember we went back and did what their record is when Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting quarterback for the 49ers?
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty darn good. It's really good. So I don't think they have any desire to force Lance in. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, at least gets the midpoint of the season. Unless something crazy happens.
I also think Kyle's you know, he's going to be able to play this the way he wants to play it, more so than, for example, Matt Nagy. If Matt Nagy, if he's like, Justin's not ready, they may demand him play Fields anyway. You know, I mean, I think there's just more organizational trust in Kyle and Lynch,
of course,
than there is in Nagy. So that's another part of it. They can do it the way they want, I'm sure.
And Garoppolo has a track record wearing that uniform. I mean,
well, but that's the hard thing because your coach is saying I need a franchise quarterback. So, you know, that's still there.
He's 20.
That part of it.
He's 22-8 as a starter with the 49ers.
But it ain't right, or else they wouldn't have traded for Lance.
No doubt.
They gave up a ransom.
But part of the issue is he's spent 2 of the 3 seasons there. He hasn't played more than 6 games due to injury. The one year that he played 16 games for him, they went 13-3 and went to the Super Bowl.
No, I know. But obviously, the record, in Kyle's mind, the record ain't enough.
No, availability is the number one ability, and that's the one that he has been the most efficient in. So, yeah, they want another guy.
It's got to be some ability, too.
They know he can play, though. There's no
right.
They know they can go to the Super Bowl with him. Trey Lance, they want to be the future and win Super Bowls with. And so maybe that transition happens at some point. Look, I go back to the 49ers. It very well could be they decide when he's ready, he goes. Go back to the season. I don't know if you remember this. Alex Smith was the starting quarterback the year they went to the Super Bowl with Kaepernick. Alex Smith, that particular season, started off incredibly hot. Incredibly hot. If I'm not mistaken, that was the year they went and he was 6-2-1 as the starter. The year before they'd gone 13-3. He was leading the NFL with a 70% completion, 13 touchdowns, 5 picks. Again, they were 6-2-1. He had a game. He set the completion percentage record for a single game against the Arizona. I'm going to say on a Monday night, completed like 90-something% of his passes. Gets dinged up. Cap comes in. Over. That's it. So I think it could be. Even if Garoppolo's playing well, when they deem Lance really ready to take to the next level, he'll play. I don't think that happens, though, in the first 8 games, barring injury.
Yeah. Tampa Bay at New England, I mentioned Tom Brady coming home. He will do so with an ability to break Drew Brees' passing yardage record. Very likely that that's in play in that game, and I can think of nothing sweeter for him than to be able to do it. I think it's amazing at 43 that he still carries – you know, these type of grudges. His dad was calling in to New England radio today, and I'm thinking, my God, he's won 7 Super Bowls. He's 43. He's married to Gisele Bündchen, and we're still manufacturing slights. I mean, it's a remarkable thing.
What do you think that game is going to be like? I mean, that's the number one. Everybody's saying, what's the number one game on the schedule that they want to see? That's it. Bucks at Pats week 4.
Yeah, I think it's so I talked to a buddy of mine, a native Boston guy,
okay.
and he says that Brady there has surpassed Bird, Bobby Orr, Williams, that he's the number one Boston athlete ever. Well, you say that, but that's not that. I mean, the guys I mentioned are
legends,
all time,
icons.
all time,
Sure.
all times.
Sure.
I mean, Larry Bird in Boston. I mean, I don't even know how you put that into words. What Bird is in Boston. I mean, it's like how we like Bernie, except he won 3 MVPs and three finals championships.
Of course.
But anyway, so I don't know. I think there will be a lot of Tom Love. I mean, he's certainly not going to be booed. He'll be cheered, I think, probably wildly, and then you'll get into the game and you'll root for your Patriots, I guess. But if it gets ugly, I could see him cheering for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious. What's the pregame interaction like with he and Belichick? Is there any
cordial? Yeah, I bet they have fun with it.
I mean, do you do an over the top heroes welcome celebrations and montages and just ridiculous to maybe try to get him slightly off of his game?
I think you do that whether it puts him off his game or not.
I mean, he's deserving.
Yeah. No, I think it's all of that. That's a spectacular one. I mean, that's the one you want to see. Just the lead up to that. I'm as interested in that as I am the game. The game is relatively meaningless, but it's the lead up to that on Sunday night will be incredible.
So that and thank goodness that's Sunday. I was just going to ask you what time is that game because I didn't have the Week 4 schedule. Yeah. I have a couple of lists here of the top matchups and then the top games and the top game per week, etc. That's Sunday night. Good. That needs to be. That needs to be the only show in town. Good. Okay, excellent.
Yep. So that'll be great. A couple other good ones. Obviously, we play Kansas City Week 1. Buffalo's at Kansas City Week 5.
Yep.
So both early in the season, you'll see how those kind of how we measure up. Probably the saddest player situation of a guy playing a game will be Jared Goff going to play in L.A. with fans against the Rams and Stafford. Like, if you want to talk about how did we get here, Stafford looking across at what he left compared to what he has, Goff looking at what he was sent packing from to where he currently is. That's the most painful one ever right there.
Yeah, that's got to be a rough one. Although I don't think we're talking enough about the changes on the Rams defense.
Yeah,
I think you put Matt Stafford on
40% of their secondary. So
you put Matt Stafford on last year's Rams team. Okay, that's something I still think they're missing the vertical element. I don't think you can. And to put that all on Goff is one thing. Now they hope Tutu Atwell can become their Deshaun Jackson, 140 pounds.
Who they have too.
I love Tutu Atwell. Believe me, I did, but I didn't realize he was 140 pounds.
Too.
They do have Deshaun Jackson, but Deshaun Jackson, he's not a spring chicken anymore. I mean, when's the last time Deshaun Jackson was relevant in the National Football League?
I guess what I think I feel about the Rams and what most people feel about the Rams, considering where they are. When you look at most of these people mock drafts, they're usually picking 29, 30. I think what most people think is the losses to their defense. I mean, go look at PFF's mock. Go look at McShay's mock. They all have them picking 27, 28, 30. The adding Stafford and those speed guys to the offense will compensate for the losses to the back end to the secondary. That's kind of the feeling that seems to be permeating around the league.
Yeah.
So a couple other ones. The Bucs have the fourth easiest schedule. Pretty interesting here. The Bears with no back-to-back road games. They play every home away
season.
The entire season.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
It's kind of cool.
I think that is kind of cool. I also think, we were talking about the Chiefs. How about the fact that the Chiefs, 4 of the top 10 games on the schedule this year in this list from USA Today involve the Chiefs. They get us, the Bills, and the Packers all at home.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's 3 of
that's the only
on this USA Today list. Yeah. That's 3 of the top 5. They've got Packers at Chiefs week 9, number 2, Browns at Chiefs week 1, Bills at Chiefs week 5.
Yeah,
that's pretty good for your home slate. I mean, that's a nice home ticket. Some good game. And they go from us. I don't know if you saw this. They go on the road. It goes Chiefs, Browns in Kansas City, and then Chiefs, Ravens in Baltimore as their week 2.
They go Chiefs, Browns, Chiefs, Ravens? That's how they open the season?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's heavy stuff. That's from our perspective. It would have been nice to have a home one. We've had some great home games recently. I mean, that Rams game from a couple of years ago was such a great game to look forward to. I suppose from a non-division standpoint, it's the Cardinals. The Bears will be a beautiful uniform matchup, but in terms of
our home schedule is not. I mean, it's going to be the Ravens. I mean, you have Thursday night football against the Broncos.
Non-divisional, I said.
Unfortunate.
Non-divisional.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that our one primetime home game is against the Broncos.
Yeah.
Now, if they get Aaron Rodgers, then that's a different story, right? It's a little bit more.
That's a little different story if they get Aaron Rodgers. All right, we'll play a little Ask CBD. It is coming up next. Get it out. The schedule's out. The draft is over. What questions do you have? Go ahead and tweet them at Browns_Daily using the hashtag AskCBD. We'll get to as many as we can coming up here in about 5 minutes from now. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers, serious issues. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time for a little SCBD. The schedule's out. The draft is over. And we have the Gibby. Hello, Gibby.
Gentlemen, welcome. How are we doing? Everybody good?
We're great, Gibby. How are you?
We're figuring things out. You know, when you come back from a few days off midweek, you know, you don't hit the treadmill at a gradual little 1 or 2 mile per hour incline. No. You hit it at about 25 miles an hour.
Yeah, so you're rolling.
Yeah, let's go.
We've got a little rookie mini camp tomorrow. We got to work through a bunch of guests for that. You know, a bunch of the rookies slated to hop on the show at some point. Just trying to piece things together and piece it together on the fly. So
there you go, Gary.
But
good to have you back.
Yeah,
we got some questions coming in, so we can have a little fun here. Iron Will, by the way, wants to know who is Senior Swag. I don't know if we're allowed to reveal that.
He's Senior Swag. That's who he is.
Senior Swag. That's it.
That's all.
Those who know.
He's a big aluminum.
Sorry, I love Iron Will. I love him, but I mean it's
one of those. Yeah, if you know, you know.
Yep.
You know.
Let's see. Jeff Williams tweeting the show, as you can do if you're listening right now, at Browns_daily. Use the hashtag AskCBD. Jeff tweets, what was the absolute most consequential move of the Browns off-season? Zegura?
Boy, that's a good question. I'll say John Johnson III, I think, on the back end of this defense in terms of an individual coming in, because it's going to allow Joe Woods to really play the defense that he wants to do. I think that was their number one priority. They got him. The other, I'd say, which is a move they didn't make, is that they retained their entire coaching staff. And I don't know if people realize how rare that is and how important that is. And I don't think, unfortunately, you can expect that to go forward if this team has the success we expect it to have. But I think, you know, sometimes it's the moves that aren't made that end up being the biggest moves.
Yeah, Johnson, I think, is the correct answer. I mean, and for the reason you said, and I still don't – I've said this before on the show, I'm not sure our fan base knows how good he is. I don't think they know how good he is. And he
Stud.
Is a dude, and he allows for, like, the fact that you can now play those three safeties and they're completely interchangeable, and his skill set allows for that. It's a pretty remarkable thing.
Logan tweets at the show at Browns_daily using the hashtag AskCBD in hopes that tailgating is back this year. What is your favorite tailgating tradition? Bishop, I'll start with you here.
Bloody beer. Bloody beer. Easy. Bloody beer. That's it. Bloody beer.
I'm going to turn this around to you, Gibby. I'd much rather hear yours. Unfortunately, I couldn't tell you the last time I had an opportunity to tailgate at a game.
It's been quite a long time. It's been, 8
for
years
too,
for
Gibby.
me.
Yeah, but I feel like Gibby is like, that's in his sweet spot. I feel like he already has so many ideas about what he would want to do. I'd want to have a Bloody Mary, and then I'd probably want to have some type of rib or smoked meats.
Love a smoked meat. You love anything like that. I am not a big burger guy.
Same.
I'm not interested in that. I don't love wings, to be honest. I know that might be sacrilege. I'm not.
It is.
But I do love a smoked meat. And I love eggs. I love eggs in the morning. You work out some eggs. I think Kegs and Eggs is such an incredible win. And then I do love a bloody beer, and all that is a little Clamato, a little beer, a little bit of celery salt maybe. Throw some celery in there. Really get nuts with it. Some olives. What a win.
Sure.
Yeah, I am a big fan. You got to have 2 meals before you walk into the stadium. You got to get there early. Like, you can't show up to, quote, tailgate 90 minutes before kick, because by that point you're wrapping up the tailgate. Because you really, if you're a true fan, you want to be in the seats at kickoff.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be stuck trying to get in, and you have to allow for that time for you to walk to the stadium, get into the stadium, and get to your seat.
I like
Okay,
this.
if a 10 is DiCaprio leaving the country club going to his house in the Wolf of Wall Street, if that's a 10, what number of pops should you be at to go into the game in your view, Gibby?
That's a great question. If that's a 10.
Boy.
If that's a 10. Because I've seen that.
Are you talking for a 1 o'clock game?
Yeah, 1 o'clock. What level do you want to be at? If that's a 10.
You really need to be started in that 7 o'clock hour. In my opinion.
I think that's how you end up like DiCaprio.
That's how you end up not making it to the game.
No.
Yes. That's DiCaprio pulling yourself into a Lamborghini.
Rule number one. Rule number one.
Yeah.
It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It's not I'm going to get there and see how many beers I can pound, how quickly I can do it.
I still think 7 a.m.
7 is aggressive.
Well, you got to have breakfast.
You almost need a nap.
You're figuring by the time you get the grill going.
If you start drinking at 7 a.m., you are not going to be at your peak when you need to be. I think you need to be. You want to walk into the game feeling really good, but still ascending because you really want to be at your peak for the second half of the game.
But
you're going to be in bed.
At 7 a.m., you're unpacking. It's not like you're just sitting there like I'm drinking beers.
You're going to crack a beer.
I have a beer.
Or you're going to have some Kentucky coffee. You're going to do one of the two at 7 a.m.
Yeah, you got a little something
going
while you're setting up.
People giving you here, little just a taste. You want to taste in that? Oh, sure. What's the problem? I'll have a coffee, a little Kentucky, no problem.
Yes, come on.
Well, who's hurt? Who's hurt here? Next thing you know, you're DiCaprio.
No,
breakfast
around 8 a.m., and then you want to do lunch between 11 and 11:30, because then you gotta cool the grill. You got to get the coals doused. You got to start putting everything away, because by noon you need to be walking to the stadium. I
think if DiCaprio is a 10, then you want to be at about a 6 or a 5.
I prefer a 7.
You want to be halfway.
I want to go 6 or 7.
And ascending.
And feeling pretty good about yourself.
Yeah.
And to the point where you get in the stadium and you can maintain. You don't want to go beyond that. You don't want to go beyond a 6 or a 7, because then that ends poorly for everybody too. So you just want to stay there.
Yes, you want to be there, and that there is a cost to consuming inside the said stadiums. Any stadium.
I think you want to walk in at a 7 and maintain your 7.
That's where I'm around a 7. Sometimes you get a little 8 in there, and things start to go a little sideways. But yeah, I mean, you got a little fireball if you need it, for shots. But the one year I was down there tailgating, it was like the last game of the season. It was 5 degrees. It was just awful conditions. This is like 2010, 11. No, I take that back. This was 2009, I think. And I was drinking blackberry brandy just out of the bottle. I don't know. Some guy brought it. I was like, whatever. Let's go.
See?
Let's do this.
Oh,
and things got a little sideways in that game. So, but like you got to have a couple meals, and then you got to have some leftovers when you get back out, because you don't want to sit in traffic. So you might as well just fire up the grill, throw the pigskin around, have a little TV going. If you got the Roku,
gotta have a pigskin.
The Roku device, you can just take with you.
There was the one time that I can remember tailgating in the last decade was I was at that crazy Michigan State game where Michigan had the punt. Was it blocked, or they messed up the punt and then the guy ran it back? Like literally all they had to do was get the punt off to beat Michigan State, and it derailed their season at home. It was like
you were at that game in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, I was there at the Big House. Sure,
gosh.
I was there. It was my first game there.
Derailed Harbaugh.
Oh my God, and it was so bizarre because it's not like I was there with a bunch of Michigan fans, so I was in the Michigan State rivalry. I would have been rooting for Michigan in the sense, but you felt like you were at a funeral when that ended, because it was a surreal. Only one thing could happen that could beat them. It did happen, which the fact that it was even allowed to happen is insane. But nonetheless, we were tailgating before that game, and we had the pigskin out, and we were throwing around. It was me and Beatbox, and Beatbox and I are having a catch. Beatbox is much more of a receiver. He has some Randy Moss to his game, to be perfectly honest, which you might be deceptive upon first glance, but it's true. He can cover a lot of ground, very tall, very fast, but not as much of a thrower. So we're playing catch, and this is, remember, we're with, at the time, Beatbox's father-in-law was one of the regents. So he had parking spot number 1. So we were as close as you could be to walking into the big house. His tailgate was a big to-do. It was a show as much as of anything. And we're having this catch. And again, I can sling it around a little bit, beatbox catch it, beatbox throwing, not so much. So we're throwing, I throw him a bomb, and then he tries to throw it back to me. It's short. It bounces off the ground. And listen, this is an oddly shaped ball.
Go anyway.
It's got a little stank on it probably,
too. It can go anyway. What it did was ricochet off of the earth and head directly towards a very, very cute elderly woman. Very old, very dainty. And if you were saying it came over to give her a smooch, you would be right. And she was saddened by what happened. And then it's a huge or mad rush. Is she okay? Oh, we're so sorry. Game's over now. But she was fine. But it looked, at the time, significantly worse than it was. Yes. So that's the last time I tailgated. So be careful.
And I would say
always.
I would say your tailgate story in parking spot number 1 outside of Ann Arbor with a Regent's dad is probably an atypical tailgate. Would be my guess.
Yeah, it was.
The food that was on display was certainly not what you would see.
It was
in a
upper
normal
crust,
tailgate situation.
and it was people wanted to come.
Known for that up there anyway.
They wanted to come and be a part of what was happening. Like it was a
C&B
scene. So when you have a couple of ruffians tossing the pill around and it ends up with a casualty, frowned upon a little bit. Then we go into the game and we got our buddy the Grizz. So we got to walk in and be on the field for like a second. Okay, we were able to be on the field for a second, and we go up to our seats. Grizz wasn't happy with the second. Next thing we know, this is also a true story. Next thing we know, we're up in our seats. We're like, "Where's the Grizz?" You look on the field. Who's fist bumping Harbaugh at midfield?
Oh God,
the Grizz. Does he get away with it? Of course. Why? Because he's the Grizz.
Is your buddy's dad still the Regent?
That would be Beatbox's father-in-law, not a Regent anymore, not in any relation to these proceedings or whatever. Because the Grizz wasn't even associated with him. The Grizz was not associated with that event at all.
Still would be worthy of being removed from your Regency status based on this performance.
No, not because – certainly not because the Grizz pulled it off. He was Harbaugh's best friend. Harbaugh loved him. It was unbelievable.
Okay.
All right. Jordan Beckwith tweets at the show, which home game would you rather go to, the opener versus the Texans or the closer versus the Bengals? Got some nice weather.
Closer against the Bengals.
Look, I think this –
it's not even a question for me. Two scenarios, right?
Not even a question?
Not even a question. I love watching Joe Burrow play the game. What?
We're going to be 14-3.
So you have two scenarios. One, it's an important game, and we get to have this magic of playing ourselves into the playoffs, beating Joe Burrow and going into the playoffs, or cementing home field advantage, the number 1 seed in the AFC. I don't know. A celebration breaking out like Week 16 of 2018 against the Bengals, which, by the way, was a tremendous time. And I remember you interviewing Baker after the game, the pause, like you had been watching WWE your whole life. It was a great moment. It was
My whole life I waited for that moment.
And you nailed it. So, brava.
Was ready, prepared.
So you've got that.
Felt it. I could feel it. I could feel that that's what was called for.
The thunder, right. You felt the thunder.
You could feel it. Yeah.
You could. It was a great job by you. Nonetheless, so you have either could be a celebration or it could be a meaningful game. Week 2, yes, the home opener. Of course, I'm pumped for that. But that one, come on, AFC North, Week 18. You don't want to be in the stadium there? What are you talking about? By the way, here maybe there's some single-game tickets available for that game.
Oh.
So this is actually possible to get into.
The Cincinnati one's awesome. I mean, it's last time. You're going to have gone 2 weeks without seeing your team, for starters.
Sad.
Right? So that's awesome. That's great. You're going to be
won't have seen him in a year.
Pittsburgh. Won't have seen him in. No, Cincinnati. I'm talking about. Cincinnati
I know.
will.
I'm saying Cincinnati. You won't have seen him in a year. Last time you would have seen him was 2021. Now it's 2022.
No.
Do you want to be there in 2022, baby? First time ever a game's ever played in First Energy Stadium, 2022.
Yeah. It's a little Willie Loman now at this point.
Sunday.
Bit.
Let's go.
Look, it's the Cincinnati game is awesome. phenomenal. But it is almost a religious experience going to a Browns home opener.
Yes.
I mean, even when we've been bad, I've gone to them, and it's been awesome. So now Houston stinks. There's no question Cincinnati's going to be the better team by a wide margin. Like, Houston is going to be bad. I do not think Deshaun Watson's going to play there. I think they are absolutely all in on the tank. Sammy Howell, Spencer Rattler, however you want to play it. But that is going to be a remarkable thing, especially if we beat Kansas City Week 1.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a ton of fun. Plus, Money Mitch, the return of Money Mitch. Get to say what's up to him. That'll be a treat. Isn't Kirko down there as well? I mean, there are like 38 guys on the Texans.
Like 12 of our guys play for them.
Yeah. It'll be like a reunion.
I am not emotionally prepared for Money Mitch in another uniform.
No, sad. Sad.
I'm not. I'm absolutely not prepared. Do you have any more, Gibby? You have another one?
I do.
Any
We
more?
can keep going, and we can
going.
stack to 2:30 if you'd like.
Sure. Why not?
I mean,
yeah, why not? This is fun.
They're flying in. I don't know how to pronounce this gentleman's name, but he's from Portugal. So
okay.
There's three names. It's Joao.
Okay. Joe.
Joao.
The middle name, Pedro.
Ooh, like that.
And I think it's Pereira.
Joe Pedro Pereira.
Like it.
We'll go with it. As a Browns fan from Portugal, the primetime game slots are pretty late here. Do you guys feel that the Browns were disrespected by only having 3 primetime games, considering, for example, that the Ravens got 5?
No, because you have 2 that were protected. You basically have 5 primetime games, and 2 of them just happen to be not in prime time. But it's Kansas City was protected, so that's essentially a primetime game. And you also have Green Bay is on Christmas.
That is a primetime game.
I'd argue that's a primetime game, and I think that's as important. That game, that 4:30 game against Green Bay, from a television's perspective, is the most important game on the NFL calendar because that's head-to-head against the NBA's best on Christmas, a day the NBA has owned.
Correct.
So that is the most important television scheduling of the year.
And let's not forget, there is the opportunity for the Vegas game to be on a Saturday, which means that would be, if that Vegas game ends up on a Saturday, that would be our 5th unopposed game. And what I mean by that is that would be the only game in the National Football League on at that time, because we have a Thursday night, we have a Sunday night, we have a Monday night. Christmas, we are the only game on, and then that one with Vegas, which would be our 5th. That gives you 5 games where you are the only game on television. That's
right.
Prime time, schmime time. When you're the only game the NFL's trotting out there, that's big.
Week 1, Nance Romo,
Protected.
Kansas City. Christmas, most important game.
Yep.
Going head-to-head, going for the NBA, and you put us against Green Bay, it is no disrespect. In fact, it's a lot of respect that we are getting.
Yep.
And good luck in the upcoming Euros. Go ahead.
Up next, D. Zemer. Who is the one game or player that gives us the most fits this season? Is there someone or a team who is a, quote, mismatch for us?
There's no mismatches. I think Kyler's tricky early because if he's healthy, he can just do so much, and they have so many weapons.
Grow the grass long that day. Grow the grass long that day. It's a home game. It's not going to be on that turf.
Early in the season, he's a tricky player.
I'm going to say it's the Chiefs, and I think a lot of what we did this offseason was to be able to deal with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and McCole Hardman. Thus Patrick Mahomes. I think that was a big, big part of what was done defensively here in this overhaul for Joe Woods. So it's unfortunate that it's week 1, but on the other hand, Joe Thomas, ever the optimist, the Hoff, said he thinks that works to our advantage. He said, I know we won't have necessarily had all the time to play together and gel, but, you build that chemistry hopefully in camp and in the preseason. But guess what? Yeah. The Chiefs are going to have 0 Browns tape on this defense. We're going to have tape on that offense.
Yeah.
They won't know about this defense.
I think one thing that you just hit on there that I agree with 100%, and you didn't say it directly, but certainly inferred it. This offseason was done to beat Kansas City. This offseason was done to win the AFC. It was not done as a reaction to Lamar, Pittsburgh, certainly that would be a byproduct. Go win the division is the most important thing. But everything we did was to put us in a position to beat and hang with Kansas City. That's what this was about.
That's right.
My words, not theirs.
Only other question that I can see, upper dog, how many times will Wyatt Teller be pulling toward Danny Sorensen during the opener?
No comment.
No comment.
No
We're
comment.
there to win.
Watch
We're not there to worry about that.
Yeah. Settling vendettas. We don't need those things.
No.
All right. We will go behind enemy lines coming up here momentarily. Before that, though, if your game plan for the season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. Jay Morrison from the Bengals up next behind enemy lines with Joe Burrow. Check in on that, how their offseason went, how Burrow's health is. We get to that coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If you're sick and tired of your outdated kitchen, this is the perfect time to upgrade to a new modern design. At Northeast Factory Direct, cabinets include all the upgrades: solid wood, full extension drawer glides, cushioned closed drawers, and doors. And the best part, the process is simple. Make an appointment, bring in some basic measurements. Kitchen designer will walk you through the design on the interactive big screen so you can see how it will all look. The appointment and the design are free. There's no obligation. That is rare. They'll let you take it with you. They have 0% financing available for you as well. So if you're thinking about remodeling your kitchen, go to northeastfactorydirect.com and schedule your appointment today. They will take care of you. Let's head out on the hotline now for a visit with Jay Morrison, Bengals beat reporter for The Athletic, as we continue to go behind enemy lines. And let's just start with this, Jay. As we sit here and rookie mini camps and then eventually mini camp, and so much of this will depend on the health of Joe Burrow. But in your estimation, did the Bengals get accomplished this offseason, as it stands right now, what they needed
to? That's a tough call. I would say yes for the most part. I just think a little more attention could have been paid to the offensive line. But you know, there's a give and take to that, and they decided to go a different direction and taking Jamar Chase not first overall, but with their first round pick, and they feel they have what they need in place on the offensive line, but man, it's thin. If injuries hit right now, I don't know that you feel comfortable with anybody on that roster sliding in at one of the tackle spots. If anything happened to Jonah Williams or Riley Reif, the free agent they signed from Minnesota, it's just for a lot of Bengals fans, I think it's here we go again, the deja vu. There was a lot of concerns about the line last year, and it just seemed like a matter of time before Joe was going to take that hit that was going to have ramifications. And I think a lot of people are just kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop now. The line is better, but is it good enough?
Well, sometimes when you can get the ball out and you have all those weapons, it doesn't matter. And clearly that was the thinking, reuniting Burrow with Chase. Going into the draft, what did you think about that decision? And coming out of it now, seeing kind of everything in sum, what do you still think about that decision at number 5, which was really, it turned out to be the first kind of real pivot point in the draft?
Yeah, I was on board with it. It was, this whole run up to the draft, it was Team Chase versus Team Sewell, and it was kind of split among the fan base. I think the Team Chase element started winning over more people the closer it got to the draft. I was early on Team Sewell, but it just made too much sense to get Jamar Chase. Not just because I think he can make a bigger impact, but you just look at the overall talent of the offensive line, and if you don't look at it, if you don't just distill it down to that one pick, and you look at it more of a package, and what you get with Jamar Chase and a second-round lineman feels like a better haul than what you could get with Penei Sewell and a second-round wide receiver. And the Burrow and Chase connection, there's a lot to that, but I think that was way down on the priority list of the reasons they went for Jamar Chase. This team needs a number one receiver, and you mentioned it. If Joe Burrow's getting the ball out quick, and everybody expects that to be the case. He was remarkable last year in how fast he picked things up and how fast he can read defenses. You expect that to only be better this year, but still, it only takes that one hit to send everything sideways.
Jay, how is Joe progressing? Is it still all looking like a full go for the start of camp and the start of the season?
Yeah, everything from inside the organization and from what little Joe has said is he's on pace. He's ahead of pace. They were confident when he had the surgery on December 2nd that he would be ready for the start of the regular season. Nothing. He just about a week or so ago crossed the halfway point in the rehab. Nothing that has happened has changed that. I asked him on one of the Zooms we had earlier this offseason what his thoughts were on playing in the preseason, just to kind of shake off the rust, and he said no way. His return to action will be week 1 against the Vikings.
Wow. And I'll tell you, I was very impressed.
And that's not because he doesn't think he'll be ready. He just doesn't want to take the chance. There's just not enough to gain by playing in the preseason and everything to lose.
And he's got the chemistry built in with Chase already, so I guess they would say that, we can get those reps not necessarily in game situations. We've had them before. I want to flip it to the defense. I think offensively, you got the three receivers, Boyd, Higgins, Chase. You got Joe Mixon, who I think is one of the better all-around three-down running backs in the NFL. We've talked about Burrow, the line concerns, but what is this defense? What's it going to be? What stands out to you about it? Because that seems to me the defense is going to trigger how far, assuming Burrow stays healthy, how far this team can actually go.
Yeah, that was really the downfall. I mean, as bad as the offensive line was last year, the defensive line is what really kind of took this team down. I mean, there was a point where the four defensive linemen they started, none of them were even with the team when they started camp. They had so many injuries, and they're just pulling guys off the street, and they had an opt-out, and that was their focus this offseason, is they are not going to let that happen again. And they went and signed Trey Hendrickson in free agency. They signed who your listeners are familiar with, Larry Ogunjobi.
Yep.
They attacked the defensive line in the draft. Got another one of Joe Burrow's former teammates and Tyler Shelvin, the defensive tackle. So that's boosting that defensive line. That they still have some questions as far as pass rushers. They got a guy in the 4th round in Cam Sample. They got a guy in the 7th round in Wyatt Hubert. Whether they're ready to jump in and be contributors as rookies remains to be seen, but they at least have some depth there this year. Their linebackers aren't great, but you feel like if the front four is better, that's going to help out these young linebackers. And really, they don't need this defense to be great. It just can't be awful. If they can get around the middle of the pack, say 14th to 18th in total defense, with the weapons they have on offense, I think this team can win.
Do they feel like they won it kind of just seems like a Trey Hendrickson, Carl Lawson swap out? Do they feel like they won that?
I mean, I guess they do, because they let Carl Lawson walk. It was a little surprising just based on how this team operates in the past. If they draft you and develop you, they reward you. And it was kind of strange to see them just let Carl Lawson walk and go take a chance on a guy, not only from another organization, but a guy that had one good year. Carl Lawson had multiple good years, but they didn't feel like Carl Lawson was the 3-down edge rusher they needed. He was just more of a kind of a one-trick pony, speed guy off the edge, and they feel that Trey Hendrickson gives them a little bit more. So they do feel that they came out ahead on that, but we're going to have to wait and see, because like I said, Trey Hendrickson has one good year on tape, and then Carl Lawson had multiple ones.
What's the temperature of the seat for the coaching staff?
Yeah, pretty hot, I would think. 6-25-1 through 2 games. He got his franchise quarterback last year. That was kind of stunted with the injury in week 11. But still, if they get off to a slow start this year, I'm not sure we see Zach Taylor finish his 3rd year. I mean, this is a very, very patient ownership group, but it's also an owner that's getting older, still has never won a championship. When Marvin came in, he turned it around so fast, and Mike Brown was so appreciative of everything he did, and they like everything about Zach Taylor except what he's been able to do on the field. And he's really kind of changed the culture in the locker room. He's had this vision, and it wasn't an immediate fix. They like the direction things are going, but you get all these weapons, and they spent record amount of dollars, in free agency the last 2 years. And if they get off to a 1-4, 1-5, 2-5 start, he may not survive it. Now, survive the year, I think if they can get up around the 500 range, he'll be back for a 4th year. But if they're completely out of the playoff mix again, regardless of how the season starts, they could be looking for another coach at the end of the year.
Jay, I know it's tricky because we're coming off of just a strange COVID year where it's hard to get a feel for the room. But from your best guess, just talking to players, does it feel like Zach has the room? Do the players enjoy playing for him? Do they like him?
Yeah, it really does. We saw that toward the end of last year where guys, and this is one of the most curious moves because one of his biggest supporters was Giovanni Bernard. And they asked him to take a pay cut, and he said no, and they cut him, and he understood it. He said it was business. But Gio wasn't the only one. Joe Burrow is firmly in Zach Taylor's corner, and Tyler Boyd has been. We saw that was one of the big storylines last year, was just kind of the purging of the old Marvin Lewis vets. We saw what the ugly scene that happened with Carlos Dunlap, and then they shipped him away for basically nothing. They've moved on from Geno Atkins now. They let Carl Lawson go. That's a little bit of a different situation, a little bit younger guy. But, Zach Taylor came in, and he wanted guys that wanted to bust their butts in practice and go hard every practice, every day. And guys like Sam Hubbard and Von Bell and Jesse Bates, and the guys like that are the ones they're trying to build around. And I do think that this locker room has his back, but does that continue if they get off to a slow start? I think there's a lot of people that'll be looking around and saying, "Oh, here we go again."
Yeah, it's going to be – I think they're a frisky team. I like the Bengals. I liked what I saw from Burrow. I thought the games with the Browns last year in Week 2 and Week 7 were both highly entertaining and could have really gone either way. And you look at kind of the games Burrow played, they were very close. There weren't many in which they were beaten soundly. I'd say other than the Ravens game, I can't think of one off the top of my head that wasn't close. So I think it's a team that could turn around, and Beau and I were talking earlier. I think that they're the third best team right now in the division. I think that the Steelers are in for a rough season, and now you'd have to go against precedent and history, a lot of history, for them to even have a losing record. But it feels like the Bengals are an ascending team to me, and I think Burrow's the main reason why. I think the guy's a stud.
Yeah, I think everybody's in agreement there that he's the one that is going to carry this team. And if you look at what the schedule makers did, they really did them a favor. I mean, 4 of their first 6 games are against the NFC North. I mean, only one of those games is a division game. And, yeah, they all count the same in the end. But if this team is somehow in playoff contention, you have to figure it's going to be tight. They're going to be one of those last few teams to get in. And those 4 games against the NFC North that they play early in the season, when maybe Joe Burrow still got some rust and they're still trying to get these pieces to come together, those don't play into the tiebreaker for that formula at all. So I think they really did a favor with loading it with NFC teams early, and then the last 10 weeks they only leave the city of Cincinnati 3 times and they only leave Ohio twice. So there's some tough games on the back end of that schedule, but they're also almost all at home.
Yeah, they certainly are. Jay, let me ask you this to handicap just the rest of the division. Interesting you get it from somebody else's eyes. Obviously, Nathan and I are pretty close to it here in Cleveland and feel very good about what our roster is. What do you make of the Browns? What do you make of the Ravens and Steelers?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we had to write off of the schedule release last night, we had to pick our predictions for the division, and I picked Cleveland to win it, Baltimore second. I had the Bengals third, and I had Pittsburgh fourth. I just think the Bengals are a team on the rise. Pittsburgh's going the other way. They're hamstrung with a lot of other issues off the field with salary issues and those kind of things. And I'm a big Kevin Stefanski fan. I just think it's remarkable what he's done in such a short time, and he's only going to get better. We know what John Harbaugh is, and that's a terrific team too. I think it's going to be a hell of a race between those two. But if I'm given the edge right now, it's the Browns. I think they're in for a really special year.
I love to hear it. I agree with you. And the Browns have an interesting quirk in their schedule. I'm sure you've seen where they play the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. They have a bye week, and then they play the Ravens at home the following week. So consecutive games that will obviously be pretty critical this season, not to mention the season finale when the Bengals come up here to First Energy Stadium to take on the Browns. So it's going to be fun. I think the AFC North looking pretty tough here, looking pretty tough, pretty frisky. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be an entertaining year. I'm ready to get it started.
Same. I don't want to wish summer away,
Great talking,
but I
man.
am ready.
Yeah. Let's enjoy a month and a half of summer. It's the least we can do. We live in Ohio, Jay.
Yeah, that's true.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for your time today.
All right, great talking to you guys.
Yeah, that's Jay Morrison with The Athletic joining us there on the hotline. Offensively, I mean, their record, and we can play the schedule game with them tomorrow, but their record might not be indicative of their improvement and how terrifying they are offensively.
Yeah.
You're going to need, what we did to defend Kansas City and all of that. You're going to have to be contending with this Bengals team twice a year, and Burrow is a stud. He is a stud. It was obvious if you watched him play last year. We saw him twice. he gave us. If you felt like he had one more possession, he would have went down the field and scored. I mean, he's just so special. And now you add Jamar Chase to that mix, and now they have 3 guys on the perimeter. And Mixon, remember, guys, Mixon didn't get going last year.
Right.
He didn't get going. So now you put Mixon back in the mix. I think they're really dangerous offensively. I think you made a great point. I mean, how good does their defense have to be? Doesn't.
No, it's got to be middle of the road.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good squad. It's
Yeah.
a really good squad. Really fun. Yeah, it's just hard to talk yourself into Pittsburgh like having a losing record. I think that's the difficult thing, just because they haven't done it, and you're going against so much history for them to do it. But when you look at it, it's hard to not get there, and we can play the schedule game with them tomorrow. I'm interested to see if he made that point. So the Bengals, just really quickly here, the Bengals go Minnesota at home, at Chicago, at Pittsburgh, Jacksonville at home, Green Bay at home. That's their first 5. So that's a tricky spot for Zach Taylor to
Tough. You want to start fast.
Yeah,
I think the Steelers have a tough start.
Yeah.
I do. I think their start is pretty tough as well.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Theirs is tough. Be interesting to see how they handle the Zach Taylor situation. Still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Be sure to catch the latest edition of the BPA. It's out now wherever you get your podcasts, or go to youtube.com/Browns.
Oh.
The Ibs boys break down the 21 NFL schedule. Clooney in town as well as he sits down with wide receivers coach Chad O'Shea.
Which is great
in an interview.
Stuff. He's the best.
You cannot miss.
I agree. Don't miss it.
What are some of the things that are the highlights of that interview in your view, since you conducted the interview?
Real good breakdown of Anthony Schwartz, what he liked about him, what he thinks he brings to this team, a real understanding of what he could potentially add to this offense, and just kind of also a little bit kind of like my Jeff Howard interview, a little peek behind the curtain with the process by which we talk to these receivers. Look, it's no secret. You paid attention to the scores, you knew. We were looking to add speed into that room. Now, we ultimately ended up adding world-class speed, literally, in Anthony Schwartz. And so just kind of talking to him about that room, about Schwartz, about the process, about, the uniqueness of this very, very intimate and small rookie minicamp. Rookie minicamps in the past, you would have your rookies, and then you have all these tryout guys. So you'd be able to play 11 on 11, you could do some things in the rookie minicamp. You'd have full offense, full defense. Well, this year, I'm pretty sure the number of guys in town for the Browns is 16. So you can't play football with 16 guys. Obviously, 2 of them are quarterbacks. There aren't a ton of receivers here. So Chad O'Shea said, this is going to be great for me, and I think very beneficial to Anthony Schwartz, is that we're basically going to hang out one-on-one. And AVP is going to be there as well. 3 of us are going to be hanging out one-on-one basically the whole time. He's going to get all that real focus and attention. And for a guy, that had not ever been a full-time receiver because of his track commitments, that's going to be, sure, I think, a real invaluable 3 days here and a real exciting
2 minutes.
For not only Schwartz, but I know Chad O'Shea's very excited about it as well.
Do you imagine, he's down in Miami hanging out with Jarvis, training with Jarvis, and then he comes here? That's pretty good.
And Chad O'Shea's a guy that's going to let him know that the task ahead of him is very daunting, to get on the field, to earn a snap on this very talented team.
Yeah, I think it's all very exciting. Yeah, rookie minicamp is here tomorrow. We'll have some interviews with members of this year's rookie class. We will do that ahead of their first day on the field. So they'll practice right about when we're at 3 o'clock. So that's when practice is. So theoretically, they'll come through and we'll be able to chat with them, and we'll see how that all goes. Be very different. It's going to be great to just see guys back around, man.
Yep.
Bouncing around. That'll be good. Out on the grass and just a short little mini camp here, but a lot to pay attention to. Are they bringing in arms? I haven't seen anything. Do they have any quarterbacks coming in to spin it around?
2 are going to be here. I was very sad. I thought maybe it was my chance. Very sad. That's all right. Keep training. I'm still ready. I'm on the trampoline with my weights.
How's the
bouncing
wheel?
Around. The arm feels real
the
good.
Wheel good?
I was slinging
Still
it around
got
a little bit in Florida when we were down there. We had some good football throwing, of course.
Spun it a little bit.
Oh yeah.
God, I miss having a
30.
Oh, it's nothing better than having a good catch. It's great. It's a real treat.
All right, good stuff. Next level coming up next. We're back tomorrow.